Hi, Rosemary. How
Hi
are
there.
you?
Good
How
to
are you
see you.
doing?
See you again.
Lovely to see you. So I'm really excited to introduce you to Love Rose Talks, and I'm just going to introduce you to the viewers as Rosemarie Flash, one of our lovely Love Rose ladies, and our beautiful models who you will have seen all over our website. So Rosemary, just a quick introduction to yourself and your kind of cancer journey so far. It would be great.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
um, I found a lump in my breast in 2018, April. I was a bit in denial, so I didn't really do anything about it. It was in my left breast. And then when I decided that I was going to try and get some information about what's going on with me, my sister was diagnosed with breast cancer as well.
Oh, wow.
So she went for her first mammogram, and they said they saw something a little bit suspicious, so she had to go back. So basically, when I went back with her, she was diagnosed with ductal carcinoma in situ, which just means it's like precancerous cells that are in the ducts of the breast. So because obviously I come from a medical background, she just felt that she wanted me present so that I could like listen to what they had to say and basically give her the information and support that she needed. So obviously I didn't want to steal her thunder, so to speak, and tell her about the lump that I found in my breast. So I kind of kept it all kind of quiet and stuff and helped her, just supported her through her journey. So around her operation was going to take place in August in 2018, and just before she went, she was going away to Canada for a holiday which she'd been preparing for ages before she found out about this. So that was in July. So she decided that she's going to go on this. They said to her, go on your holiday, and then when you come back in August we'll do the surgery. So basically I waited for her to go off on holiday, and then I sorted myself out. That was the plan. So I went in and I had a mammogram done, and they saw the suspicious lump, and they took a biopsy of it, and they saw another area as well in the breast, and it came back the same diagnosis as my sister had, but there was a few cancerous cells outside of the ducts, so mine was not contained in the ducts. So the removal of the ducts alone wasn't going to be enough. They were thinking about radiotherapy and chemotherapy to get the ones that obviously they'd seen outside of the ducts. So when she came back off holiday, I'd already told my mother at this point, and when she came back off holiday, I told her as well. And she just pretty much broke down. She's like, what is going on? You know, both of us diagnosed with cancer in the same year kind of thing. So anyway, we decided the surgery that we decided to have, I mean, I was there when she was having all of her consultations, we decided to take tissue from both our thighs, our inner thighs, and they would reshape that and basically replace the tissue that they removed from the breast. I can't remember the actual name for it, but basically it was an operation that meant that we could have our own tissue in our bodies and not have to have anything foreign like an implant or anything like that. And that's what she decided to do. And I pretty much felt like, yeah, that's a really good idea. I just like nothing foreign in the body and stuff like that. But I was still obviously worried about the fact that I may have to have chemotherapy or radiotherapy. I think that was the hardest thing for me, because I thought I really don't want any chemicals in my system that are not mine. That was my biggest thing. So I kind of thought radiotherapy I could probably cope with, but if I had to have chemotherapy, that would be like, you know, the last thing for me. So anyway, obviously while I was waiting for results and stuff like that, my sister underwent her surgery, and usually the surgery takes about 7 hours, but in her case it took like 11 hours. So they had a few problems trying to get the blood vessels to connect to give them, just basically give some, what do you call it? Just give like perfusion to the actual breast tissue that they removed from the actual tissue they removed from the thigh. So if you haven't got a blood supply, then it's not going to survive. So so that's why she was in there for so long. When she came out, everything was fine, but the breast, the tissue that they had, they managed to get 2 flaps in. They call them flaps, the area that they take from the thighs. She managed to get both of them in, so she had a good sized breast, resembled what she had lost. But obviously when they were doing the flaps, they decided that the areola area, which had to be removed, obviously, they had like an area, she had two parts. Basically, there's two ways of seeing whether the flaps actually take, and that is to have the areola area and put like probes on them just to see whether they still survive. So she had like a areola which was quite large, a lot larger than obviously she had before, and it had two sort of sections to it. One to say that was one flap, and that was to see the other flap. Just and they do like a Doppler, which is just like a ultrasound to see that it's got blood supply. So anyway, so she had a good breast, but it didn't resemble a very it wasn't aesthetically pleasing, basically. Right. So she wasn't as happy with it. And then I underwent surgery on her actual birthday. So my surgery was on September the 22nd, which was actually September the 20th, sorry, which was actually her birthday. And I ended up being in surgery for 18 hours. So they were having so many problems, trying to get the flaps to take. And it was the same problem with the blood vessels. So I don't know if it's like a black thing, I'm sorry to say, or whether it was just basically our blood vessels were just a bit more defiant. I have no idea. I was under for 18 hours. So when I came out of that, obviously I was pretty much delusional. I was just like, I can't take, I was just like really out of it. And they told me that I wouldn't feel great. But after a few days, I felt better. But when I did wake up, I saw a bandage on my ankle. And I was like, well, why have I got a bandage on my ankle if you've done breast surgery? I mean, it doesn't make any sense, So, and that wasn't something that I was like privy to, because obviously I said I come from a medical background. So I kind of pretty much knew exactly what the procedure took. I've been in surgeries before, so I knew what this all entailed. So when I woke up and saw that bandage, I was like, well, what's going on? And basically they got the consultant to come in. And no, it wasn't the consultant. It was one of the consultants' registrars came in and said, we were trying to get the blood vessel. He removed two really good flaps from my thighs, and they were trying to get them in to take, and the blood supply to the flaps didn't work. So therefore they were hunting around my body to find blood vessels to basically get that flap to take. So it would give it a blood supply. And so they took like, three veins. They tried vein there. They took like 3 veins from my arms. So I woke up with 3 scars on my arms. I just thought that this surgery, no one's going to know that I've had it, because obviously nothing's going to be showing. It's my breast, unless I go topless, no one's going to ever know. So, and then I said, well, what happened to my leg? And he said, they tried to get a blood vessel from my leg, and they managed to get one of the flaps to take, but the other one didn't survive. So in the hunt for all of these blood vessels, in the end, I still lost one of the flaps. So therefore my breast was recreated, but it wasn't the size that it should have been. It was half the size, obviously, because they lost one of the flaps. And then I had all these different like scars all over my body. So then I was approached by Black Women Rising, because when I went to the Macmillan support group at King's College Hospital, I don't know if that has to be locked out, but at King's College Hospital, I basically felt that it was a circle of women that were going through their journey at different stages and stuff, and it was very supportive. But when I walked in, I saw a Black girl in there, because usually and she was very sprightly and very happy, and that was Leanne. And I thought, oh my God, like this. I thought I'm going to talk to her at the end of this group, it was that kind of thing. We all shared our cancer stories, and I thought, I really sort of had graduated towards it. So it's my sister and I that are both in this group. My sister's very private about things, but I'm very like, yay, hey, I kind of like, that's just the way I am. So I approached Leanne and we had a talk, and she said that she's trying to organize or create a group where just women of color can get together and share their cancer stories, because obviously certain experiences, like her experience was trying to find hair, and I just basically wanting to do, she was told about like the cap that you can put on your head to kind of keep your hair so you don't lose it. But obviously if you've got black hair, our hair is very different. So this cap was really not even going to touch the scalp or give, or work the same way. So it was good to have these exchange of stories from people of color, because then we could kind of understand where they were coming from. But obviously, like I said, I didn't need chemotherapy and radiotherapy in the end. They said that what they did was sufficient enough. They took like ducts from under my armpit to look for the nodes, and they were clear. So that was the only surgery I needed. So myself and my sister had the same surgery. But my problem wasn't the breast surgery. It was a scar that was left on my leg. That was really, for me, that was like, it showed the world that something could happen to me, whereas before no one would ever have known about it. And I don't know if it's because I just wanted to keep it all private and not have anyone know about it, but for me that was it. Just really, it broke me, and I just didn't understand why they decided to do that. And then in the process of it, I still didn't end up with both breasts. I still have to wear a prosthesis because my breast isn't the size that it should be. And so they, you know, they were making a prosthesis for me. So another problem that I had was when I was waiting for the prosthesis to be done, because mine one was of color, and all the prostheses weren't the right color for me. I mean, it was a gel one that I wanted. I'm like, I want the gel one, you know, and I picked them all up and I chose one, and it was like, it's got like the black batch, the Asian batch, and white batch. I mean, none of the colors suit anybody anyway, but yeah, they're really odd colors, you know.
Totally weird.
Yeah, so but they didn't have my one in stock, so I was like, okay, so they ordered it, and I don't know what problem with the order, but it took 3 months before I got this prosthesis. And in the meantime, I had to have this like spongy one, which just made from some kind of like cotton material in it, and it was like, it was pink. So, you know, if it sat in my bra, if it came up a bit, you'd see it. And so I decided to try and dye it. And when I dyed it, it just didn't take. So it came out really bad. But anyways, the fact is, I didn't have a color that I needed. So it was just like little things like that. But in the support group, it was just an opportunity and a platform for all the women to talk about their cancer stories. And what Leanne wanted to do was, she wanted to do pictures of us all and put on an event where people could come and see our pictures, talk to us about it and listen to our stories. So that's what actually happened. So it was basically all Black women rising. And it was people from different backgrounds, women of color. And we did this group where we were supporting each other, and then it turned into, let's do this event. So we had our pictures taken, got all dolled up, brilliant, and she wanted natural pictures to show our scars. So we were showing our scars and sharing our cancer stories, and that's how we got together. And it's just a really positive experience.
You feel like that made you feel differently about the scars that you had that were so affecting you? Or?
Well, I think because I did put it out there and get that reassurance, and it kind of enabled me to find, you know, direct me in a way to find someone so I could discuss it, because basically I was traumatized by it. So, you know, people thinking you should be worried about your breasts. I'm like, no, because this is a visible thing. And I loved my legs. I'm sorry, I loved them. So it was like, you know, and I've had them out whenever I could. It was like one of my best features. So I thought, and then for them to damage them in that way, it just made me feel like I couldn't cope. So they directed me to basically counseling. So I managed to talk to a counselor about it and tell her my story. And she said, what you need to do is contact your consultant that did the surgery and have a debriefing session with him, because it's like post-traumatic stress, you know, kind of reliving the same experience. So I did manage to sit down with the consultant.
That's great.
And which was really good. And I was like, why did you go to my leg, you know, why did you take it? And he said to me, in all honesty, Rosemarie, I removed 2 beautiful flaps from your thighs in order to make a breast that you'd be really happy with. And then the problem of not being able to get a blood supply meant that we just felt like we didn't want to fail you, and we wanted to give you a breast that you were happy with. So we did everything in our power to save it. And when he said that, you know, he's like, he goes, in all honesty, I could not throw away this flap, this wonderful like flap, just because I couldn't get the blood supply. So I did everything in my power to do it. And when I heard that kind of story about him telling me that he was doing everything in his power to give me a breast that I'd be proud of, that it just made me feel like, wow, now I know where you're coming from. And that's what I needed. So it gave me the answers that I needed. So then I could kind of
also, I guess you had been under for so long. They must have been desperately like trying to you know, so that they could get you out from under, you know, the anesthetics.
Exactly. But, I don't know what was going. It must have had a tea break in between. It was that long, but it's like, you know, what do you do? 18-hour op. You know, what was happening in there? There was
closure on it.
That's what I needed. I got the closure that I needed, and I was able to move on from that. So with the Black Women Rising, they kind of had different what do you call it, different events in different places, so that we could have people, we could share our stories and go around, and then more people coming in. It got larger. They had, but basically, because it was some of the old people and then the new people, we were going around and sharing the same story over and over again. So for me, I kind of grew out of it, because I was thinking, I'm in a different place now. I don't want to keep reliving what has happened every single time I'm at a different place. I'd gone back to work, you know, people are like, oh, you look good, because they can't see my scars, basically. So I'm like, but I have gone through a big journey. And then you get treated exactly like you would have been treated at work, when you're thinking, no, actually I'm a bit more exhausted than I was before. I'm taking like a tablet which gives me every single ache and pain there is, you know. And it's like, you know, you're trying to stay normal because everyone sees you looking normal, but it is a journey. But I just needed to, I really appreciated the platform that we had with the Black Women Rising group, but I just felt that I was at a different stage in my story.
But initially it really probably helped. But then,
and that's what those things are for, really.
So Rosemarie, the other question I wanted to ask you was, so from the time you found the lump, those April, and then you didn't actually have your operation until, was it the September? That's a long time.
It is a long time.
And you must have gone through like head wreck. Did you know?
I did. To be honest, I was, I felt the lump when I was in Jamaica it was in March, around March time, and I was in complete denial. I was just like, you know what, no, it's just breast changes, I'm getting older, you know, that kind of thing.
Had you any history of it in your family before this? Had you?
No, nothing at all, no cancer at all. On my dad's side of the family, there's like sort of more bowel cancer and prostate cancer, but not, it was like in the America, cousins and stuff like that from the older generation, so to speak. Nothing from us, no cancer at all. And they're saying that there's no genetic link either. It's because we have, obviously,
I have a similar story. So there was 3 sisters out of 6. We all got cancer, and all breast cancer, but all different types of breast cancer. And before that, like my mum lived until she was like in her 90s, my granny, there was no cancer at all in the ladies down our line. So we were the first, you know, generation to have been affected. But 3 in one family, like you,
it's
2
like,
in one family.
And did they see a link? Did they find a link?
No, we don't have a gene that they can identify.
Yeah, exactly.
But genealogy is so early, isn't it? So I guess there is a gene somewhere.
There is somewhere, but you just
but they haven't just.
But I also think, is it lifestyle? Is it because we come from a generation where our food's different? We got so much things added to our foods. You know, this just like, you know, not that we're just worshipping the sun, but I don't know. We're living like with mobile phones. Maybe we put our mobile phone in our pocket and it's radiated in a certain. I have no idea, but it's just like there's so much going on that you just, and you could kill yourself trying to think about what the reason is.
Do you live your life differently now? Like, are you very conscious about what you put into your body? Or do you have the, you know, I don't care, I'm surviving this, I can do whatever, I'm invincible.
You know what? At the beginning, I was totally like, oh, I'm going to pretty much turn vegan. I'm going to like really sort of like watch what I eat and stuff like that. And I think like pretty much 2 years on, I've just thought, to hell with it. I'm just going to enjoy life, you know. I'm just going to do what I can do, you know, and I will try and be a bit more mindful about what I do put into my body, but not to the extent when I'm going to give myself a breakdown and not enjoy the food that I eat. I love food, so and I just want to make sure that I enjoy every moment. Take the biggest slice of cake and not be like, oh no, I shouldn't do that. Just go for it, you know, and then, you know, work on it afterwards. I have just recently started speaking to my neighbor next door to me who does yoga and stuff like that, and I'm like, oh, I want to do that, so therefore we're going to work together and try and, you know, some of the general aches and pains which could be caused by old age, I don't know, but you know,
your job is quite physical, isn't it?
My job is quite but still, I mean, I used to, when I was younger doing my job, I could like do everything, and now I just feel like, oh my god, at the end of the day I'm just like exhausted, and we're doing it less face to face, we're doing a lot more virtual, so like this, so I just need to feel a bit fitter again, I think.
That's fair enough. Well, thank you so much for coming to talk to us. You're just such a ray of sunlight, honestly. It's been such a joy having you as part of LoveRose, and we can't wait to see you and have you for the next shoot, and the story continue.
Thank you very much. You take care, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Lovely
for having me.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care. Bye. Bye.